This is the regular press conference by Minister Motegi. Minister?
Well, prior to beginning the press conference, the senior officials of the MOFA, for 22 people, the official notice of the appointment have been issued. Mr. Katayama, head of Research Institute, and the Vice Minister Kanasugi, all these Director General level people, I thank them very much for their wonderful work done wholeheartedly. Once again, I will pay respect to them wholeheartedly. And the Vice Minister and Director Generals, new people will be assigned, and all these newly appointed people, I commend them based on the past achievements. I hope they can even work better and make a greater contribution. That is what I said. So currently, those people who are assigned to the Ministerial Secretariat are waiting for their new appointment, and the official appointment will be issued in the due course of time. And they are really working at the forefront of Japan's diplomacy, and I wish them very well. One more point about the raising of the warning level. As you know, COVID-19 in the United States as well continues to produce once again a large number of infections. In Latin America and Africa, still spread of the virus is continuing. As of July the 21st, in 188 countries and the region of the world, more than 40 million infections have been confirmed, and total number of the deaths of the world is more than 590,000. Given the situation, taking into consideration various situations comprehensively, including number of infections per unit of 10,000 people, a new warning on the infectious diseases for 17 countries and regions will be raised to level 3. Avoid all travel at this time. Concretely, in Asia and the Pacific, Nepal, in Latin America, Suriname, Paraguay, Venezuela, in Europe and Central Asia, Uzbekistan, in Middle East Africa, Kenya, Comoro, Republic of Congo, Sierra Leone, Sudan, Somalia, Namibia, Palestine, Botswana, Madagascar, Libya, and Liberia. As a result, in total, 146 countries in the region will be subject to level 3. That's it from me. Thank you.
Please ask your questions. For those of you who have questions, please proceed to the microphone after your names are called. Please state your name and affiliation before you ask questions, please. Mr. Yamamoto, NHK. With regards to the warning on infectious disease, you are to raise the level? I've just raised the level.
It's going to be raised immediately.
Ms. Nishimura, Radio France. Nishimura, Radio France, thank you very much. With regards to the consultation on re-entry, this is Nishimura, Radio France. What consultations did you say? Re-entry consultation. Are you talking about consultation on re-entry? I have a question about consultations on re-entry. A couple of months ago, those who departed Japan, foreigners who had lived in Japan, have not been allowed to re-enter. For those who are not the permanent residents or spouses of Japanese nationals, even departing before restrictions, they cannot be allowed to re-enter. However, they are paying tax and they are making contributions for health insurance, and they are paying rent in Japan. While absent from Japan, it is abnormal, I have to say. For foreigners who had lived in Japan, do you plan to prioritize them to allow for re-entry, and who will be allowed to re-enter, in what order, and on what grounds? And when do you think the timing of the permission of the re-entry will be? Thank you.
At the very outset, I thought you were talking about oil-producing country for your Japanese Senkaku, but I know you are now asking me about the re-entry. I know about the request for re-entry made by holders of long-term residency status. So far, Japan has allowed the re-entry, especially when the individual situation called for humanitarian consideration while conducting necessary border measures, and have dealt with non-Japanese who have residency status and went out of the country with approval of re-entry. Japanese government will continue to consider in what way, partially, and by what phase people's travel can be restarted while making sure that the spread of virus is controlled and prevented. So at this press conference, I have repeatedly said to you that by phase it will proceed. By phase means that first of all is what country and what region. Of course, we are focused on the area of the region where the infectious diseases is being put under control. Then the mitigation measures can be taken. Look at the EU. There are 13 countries outside of a Schengen area. And also for what people this re-entry will be allowed, it is based on that country's own policy. But there are countries with high travel needs for tourism and so forth, and some countries allowing for the re-entry. But as far as I am concerned, that business persons, first of all, need to receive priority for allowing the entry, then followed by the foreign students, and in the final analysis, the general tourists in that order, as well as the general people at large. In this sequence might be preferable. Looking at the worldwide infection status and looking at each country's restart of the people's travel, how it is done, I'm checking it on daily basis. There is no case that Japan is being abnormal. It's not the case. We need to control and prevent the spread of the virus. We are not taking the policy, it's okay to have a further spread of the virus. If you say so, then I have a different opinion from yourself. We have to really make sure that spread will be controlled, yet the people's travel will be restarted by phase.
Next question, please. Osumi, Japan Times. On a related note, I have two questions, if I may. On the issue of re-entry, 146 countries are now covered by the overall travel, which could affect re-entry restrictions. Do you think it will have an impact on re-entry restrictions? 129. That's the first question. On second point, business travelers, you are proceeding with allowing them to enter, but as a part of this strategy, you have to go through the PCR, and there are key people who are waiting for a couple of months to enter, and they have lost livelihoods. They have lost education. They have lost houses. Permission of entry for business travelers. You are prioritizing that?
Yeah. First of all, raising up to level 3 to 146 countries and regions in total. That's one thing. And people's travel on trial basis, by phase and by trial basis, you'll be expanded. So those two are not actually directly related. And based on that, I would like to say to you that they are holder of long residency status who would like to re-enter Japan. And we know that there are some people who want that. And I know about that, as I said. So vis-a-vis those kind of people, we have to accordingly treat them. But we have to consult with the relevant agencies and ministries what to do about the border measures. And as a result of that, within Japan, we have to make sure that it will not lead to the further spread of the virus here. So one by one, we need to resolve the issue and deal with this issue.
Follow-up question.
Sorry. Please return to your seat.
Next question, please. Japan Times, Osumi. Sorry, I'm taking the floor too often. This situation has persisted for a number of months. Could you give us an idea as to when we can expect a change in strategy or some actions be taken. When do you think this could happen?
Well, as you know very well, currently, 4 countries, Vietnam, Thailand, Australia, and New Zealand, those are countries with whom are centering around the business person's travel. In order to allow for the restart of the travel, we are having a consultation trying to put a good framework. So countries who are having the situation under control will come first and can widen the people's travel. And of course, there are so many needs in terms of the manpower. We have to go hand in hand with prevention of the spread of the virus, what kind of manpower will be appropriate, and in conducting prevention of the spread of the virus, in what way we can allow for the entry of these people. Those are the things we are considering. Having said that, a few months ago, who could have accurately predicted the situation of coronavirus at this time? No one could have predicted. We are dealing with the COVID-19. The infection had been confirmed in China. And first 100,000 infections, it had taken 67 days. And from 100,000 to 200,000, instead of 67 days, it took only 11 days. From 200,000 to 300,000. How many days it has taken? Only 4 days. Over 4-day period, it's now 100,000. It's 1 million expansion of the infections throughout the world. The outbreak epicenter have shifted from China over to Europe and now to US for further spread, and now in Brazil and Latin America, as well as in India, in South Asia, as well as in Africa. Really, worldwide, the spread is occurring. What would happen in half a month's time, 1 month's time? With regard to that, what kind of situation will be there? We can never predict that beforehand. Experts are, of course, thinking about it. Of course, we are looking for the situation to be under control as soon as possible. But there is an issue about the spread of the virus which need to be placed under control. So as for the people's travel, to what extent, to which country, for which category of manpower, it can be allowed. We cannot say anything definite at this time because of those implications. But as soon as possible, we wish that we hope to see the restart of the people's travel.
Thank you. Abe-san, Yomiuri Shimbun. Abe, Yomiuri Shimbun. Chinese government vessels in the intrusion into the contiguous waters around Senkaku. Chinese ships have been confirmed sailing 99 days in a row. It's a record number of days. What is your reaction and what is the response by the government?
As for the record number of voyage, it went over 64-day record, and the record have been renewed. And every time it was renewed, vis-a-vis China, we had to launch the protest appropriately. And for we would defend, of course, our territorial waters, air, as well as land. We would appropriately deal with it.
Yes. Ishinabe Sankei, on a follow-up note, Chinese government vessels, the movements of them, LDP, self-defense forces, and U.S. forces, joint exercise and environmental survey are proposed. Beyond and more than make a representation. What are the necessary response?
We like to decide what to do about it by listening hard to what the ruling party has to say.
No further questions, and we'd like to bring to the close this regular press conference by the Minister. Thank you.